Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Flint Creek Transport. I know it's been a couple weeks since I released the video. Just a lot of life has been happening, and it's been busy. Anniversary, my wife's birthday, family trips, just a lot of stuff going on. And sometimes you just gotta kick back and take a little breather. So, kind of getting refreshed, recharged, and ready to tear it up. We had a lot of stuff happen here at the shop. We got a lot of stuff going on, but today we're gonna actually go out to Syracuse. I'm just here in the yard, but we're gonna go out to Syracuse to a clean truck event. So it's here first thing in the morning. I'm gonna head out there and we're gonna see if we can find some electric trucks to check out and get updated and kind of see what the future is for New York. And I know in one of the last videos, I talked a little bit about not being able to buy diesel trucks anymore here in upstate New York. But thanks to, I guess, our current administration in the White House, they kind of repealed a bunch of that stuff, and so now we can buy diesel trucks in New York. And I think actually it was our governor Hochul here in New York that helped with that as well, because it was really hurting a lot of the dealerships and things like that. So unfortunately though, electric I think is coming, and we got to figure out how to utilize it in our businesses and things like that. So that's what today's trip is about. And with a fleet our size, I have to stay in tune to what is happening. So that's what I'm doing today. Yeah, diesel trucks still can be bought again. I could go out and I could order a W900 or a 589, but it's probably going to change again in a couple years. All right, guys, let's go. So we're at the DoubleTree here in Syracuse, and I'm just kind of at a break here where just before lunch, and I figured I'd come out and show you guys all the different trucks. This is an electric, like a yard jockey truck, and there's some of these, some of the aspects or some of the things that you would utilize these yard jockeys for, like electric, really makes a lot of sense. There was guys that were in there that were talking about these things, and they run them, I think they run about 11 or 12 hours a day, and works perfect, works really good for them. Some of the things that they're pushing, like, these box trucks, garbage trucks, different things like that are definitely coming. Some of these things we don't really have any use for, like a box truck, yard jockey, we don't really have use for, but there are some side, like the flatbed. We don't have any flatbeds this small. But one thing that was interesting about this system, so a lot of these are pretty much all electric, right? This company, BAE Systems, you could check them out online, but they also have like a hybrid version. He talked about, like, there's several different stages. I thought that definitely caught my eye, but they do a lot of repowers, and you can still have your diesel engine, but it makes electric. So it's a generator attached to it, and it makes electric, and it will be driven 100% off electric. So that was kind of cool. He said you definitely get a fuel savings there, and the engine runs at a better RPMs for that. So that's interesting. The other thing here, so Hunter Peterbilt is here, and they have two trucks. The truck that would be in our fleet, or potentially like we would have any type of use for, is this one. It has a 150 mile range. This is 100% electric, and 150 miles, kind of limited with what you can do with it. But I'm gonna see if I can get my hands on this truck. They do have a program where they can send this truck out and utilize it in, you can use it in your application. So I'd love to put some miles on it. We could utilize something like this in our flatbed side, where we go out and do residential deliveries. So those guys typically don't put on a lot of miles, but they do put on, it's more so just the time they sit by the road, things like that. So that could get utilized, but again, 150 mile range is very, very limited. Box truck, cargo truck. Some of this we wouldn't really utilize. And the reason that this all, again, our current administration kind of took out the ACT rule, Advanced Clean Truck, and they pulled the carpet out from under the New York State and said you can't enforce anything. But what New York State did is went and turned around. So a truck like this, I think you could get about $180,000 credit for. Well, now all of a sudden, New York State is handing out, I think it's over $300,000. I think it's around $340,000. It depends what credits or whatever you apply for, or you're, you have access to, or depends on your location and how big your fleet is. But there's a lot of different options there. But I think potentially up to $340,000 on to get put towards a Class 8 truck. So you really only, it might cost you maybe $70,000, $80,000 above and beyond that, maybe $100,000 for a new truck. So if you had like a really short distance hauling that you needed a truck for, there's potential that something like this might work out. But again, a 150-mile range is really tough. New York State, it tells you New York State is really pushing electric. So that's what they did to make to still bring electric into the state. They're working on an infrastructure charging system, whole charging infrastructure across the thruway, but it's still, about 2 years out. And, they also increased, so not just the credits for here, but also for all the smaller trucks too. There's huge incentives to change out from your current, diesel truck to an electric truck. And I think, in some of these trucks, it could definitely make a little bit more sense. So if you were, say you had a plumbing and heating business, and, you had like a work van like this, or like that one, a work truck where, you had all your tools in there. You drove 50 miles to the job site, 30 miles to the job site, and you work there all day long. You load your tools back up and you come back. And then you plug it in for the night. So there's certain things that electric does make sense, and it could easily be utilized. And having the electric, you do get a lot of benefits. You don't have to worry about changing oil. There's quite a few things that you could get by with. Transmissions. There's some of those things that there's no maintenance, very little maintenance. So this is another truck that is here, and this is Cummins natural gas engine. So this is an X15. This is one that they have just come out with. This is the same X15 you'll get on a regular diesel truck. They just made it a CNG, so it's the same block. Basically everything else is the same. The turbocharger might be a little bit different, and maybe the head's a little bit different. But otherwise, it is it runs on natural gas, hence the big CNG. It's got the tanks back there. And so I was talking with Wegmans. So Wegmans is actually a local grocery store. I don't know if you have Wegmans in your area. He said that I think they're in like 17 different states or 14 states. But they are by the end of this year, he said they're going to be 100% CNG or 100% off diesel. So I think they're about 76% right now. They got a bunch of these X15 N trucks coming in, natural gas trucks coming in. And they run these trucks about 500,000 to 700,000 miles. He said, well, that was back when it was a 12 liter. He said the 15 liter could potentially go further. But what happens is these trucks are basically worth nothing at the end. That is kind of mind-blowing to me, because you still have a truck with 500,000 miles. I mean, that's where I buy our trucks at 500,000 miles. But they basically get scrapped, or they get sold off, they get parched out. I don't know, but I guess it's still potentially greener, or somebody thinks so. It's still greener to do it this way. Where Wegmans makes out is it is definitely it costs a lot less to run on CNG, so their fuel costs pay for that. So that's the reason they can take these trucks and basically depreciate them out and the whole life of the truck, or in 5 years, 7 years. But that is a big question, is what happens to these electric trucks. You know, the Peterbilt guy was telling me, he said about 15 years on their battery. I guess Peterbilt uses a different battery. He said you definitely want to look at your batteries before you buy the electric truck you're looking at, because every manufacturer is a little bit different, just like their engines. So he said their batteries are good for about 15 years. Now, you know, do they have any trucks out there running for 15 years? I don't know. I don't think so. These trucks have only been out just a few years. This is a 2022 model, I think. I'm sure they've been testing a little bit longer than that, but still nothing out there for 15 years. But what happens is, in time, your battery wears out, and you have, you know, you're only going to get to where you're about 80% efficient. So your range, you know, if your range is 150 miles, now it is going to be maybe 120 miles, but or like 110 miles. So that's what happens. The range shortens. But again, you know, I don't know what the miles would be over 15 years. You know, at some point, I would think that does play into how many times you're charging it up. But that, I guess, there's still a lot of unknown. But what happens when this truck is shot? Do you got to pay to get rid of it? Like, who recycles the batteries? Is there like a core? Can you repower it? And in upstate New York here, with the rust and things like that, we'd really, you know, at the end of 15 years, it's done, because I wouldn't want to take one of these electric trucks apart and repaint the frame and sandblast it, repaint it. I'd be scared of getting electrocuted. I'd really want to see the truck go down the road. I don't want to have to mess with it. Give you a little look here. This is somewhat open. So I've seen Nikola had one. They're out of business now. Thankfully, I didn't invest in any of that. But this PACCAR truck, or this Peterbilt truck, it's very, very similar to their regular diesel tractors. You can see the suspension. You know, everything is all the same. Rims, tires are probably rated a little bit differently, you know, for the weight, but I'm guessing they're probably the same. I'm just not familiar with this Bridgestone. What is it? 760. The hub is obviously a little bit different, but all their suspension parts, you know, that's all the same. They do have electric here that ties up to it, but the pumpkin, you know, suspension, frame rails, you know, all that, a lot of that stuff is the same. And inside the cab, very similar, very where a driver is very used to it. So the transition for a driver going from diesel to electric really is not that big of a deal. It looks very similar. So that part I really like about PACCAR. The Nikola truck that we were looking at, like totally different size tires, totally, like everything was different in the back end. That definitely scares me, you know, a little bit more. But yeah, here's some of these electric trucks, and I tell you, New York State is pushing very hard. They're also pushing to eliminate older diesel trucks. So they're trying to put in something that says like 2010 trucks they want to get rid of. What I heard today is kind of like a cash for clunkers, where, you know, your diesel truck that is a 2010 and older, you could get, you know, a certain amount of money for. It's kind of frustrating to me, you know, but it is what it is. You know, times are changing, and not that I want to embrace it, but I look at electric trucks not necessarily as greener, but I look at more as a cost savings. So I have a option where I could utilize like a PACCAR truck or a Kenworth truck, Peterbilt truck, with a flatbed at one of our locations, or a tractor to do local deliveries. You know, if I could get maybe to where it was like 300 miles a day, 350 miles a day, I could utilize something like that. And I wanted, you know, with a fleet of almost 40 trucks, we have to start dabbling into it a little bit. You know, currently running a fleet that is very, I would consider it very green, but to some people, it would be called very dirty. So it just kind of depends what your mindset is. Unlike the trucks, like, say, nothing against Wegmans, but instead of seeing a truck like this at 500,000 miles go to the landfill or get recycled, our trucks have 2.5 million miles on. So that's the difference. So yes, I am going to be dabbling into the electric side of it. All this stuff takes a long time. So till you start the process with NYSEG, NYSERDA, getting the grants and all this stuff, it's a long time. But I still want to take a look at it if there's ways that we can utilize it. They said it's good to get in and kind of see what you can do with it. So who knows? I don't know what'll happen, but first off, I want to try, testing a truck for maybe a month or a couple weeks anyway, and seeing what we can do with it there before I, invest too much money into it. But it is definitely the wave of the future. The infrastructure part though is what it's going to take a long time till there's enough electric to charge all these trucks at the same time, or when guys get back at 5 o'clock. You think about it, between 5 and 10, unless you did like a time charger, but that's when everyone is at home, they're watching their TV, they're whatever, they're showering, their hot water heaters are on. A lot of electric gets consumed between 5 and 10 p.m. and that's when all these vehicles are going to get charged as well. So it is going to be a major grid change, and they've already been running into it. There's so many places. Like a guy spoke today, he said, I'm running a grinder or something, a big diesel engine, that they switched to electric, but they have to still run it off of a diesel engine. They have to still charge off a diesel engine because they don't have the grid power there to run that electric engine that does the grinding. So they're using a diesel generator to power their electric grinder because they don't have grid power. So that's the frustrating thing, is sometimes, yeah, there might be spots where you could utilize it, but you just can't because you don't have the grid power. But I can tell you guys, if you are in New York State and you could utilize a truck like this where you're only, running 100 miles a day, the funding that is available right now, I would absolutely look at it. If I could use a box truck or needed a box truck for something, and you're just doing the last mile delivery, absolutely all day long, it would be probably a big cost savings. And these trucks, there's a lot of these trucks been running in New York City already. The more city you're in, the better. But especially being in New York State, there's a lot of credits available for this. So check them out. NYSERDA. Go to your local dealer. There's a lot of funding available. I just wanted to show you real quick the incentives that there are. So you can see on a Class 8 truck, the base incentive is $200,000. And all said and done, if you are in the disadvantaged community bonus, the small fleet bonus, and scrappage bonus, you can get $340,000 towards a electric truck. Crazy. You can see what it is there for smaller trucks. There's definitely quite a bit. So what's interesting is some of these electric trucks, like a Ford Lightning. I'm not sure what their weight class would be, but they got to be coming close to, you can see the maximum amount per vehicle. You can see what the incentives are. So definitely some things I got to check into. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Peace out.